You walk through the beautiful cantons of Vivec City, heading towards the Tribunal Temple constructed in the honor of the three living gods. You pass over the bridge, separating the temple from the other cantons, hearing the water of the Norverin Bay flowing gently and calmly underneath. As you walk up the stairs, an ordinator says to you,
"Praise Vivec."
Hello and welcome to Anatomy of Fiction. In today's video, we are going to discuss the gods of the Tribunal Temple. More specifically, are they the heroes they portray themselves to be, or are they actually the villains of Morrowind? For this, we are going to begin with the history of the Tribunal Temple. So how the gods became the living gods that were worshipped throughout Morrowind. The origin of the Tribunal gods is the War of the First Council. This is before they were gods. This war was between the Dwemer, which were the dwarves of Morrowind, and the Chimer, which are the ancestors of the Dunmer. The Dwemer would end up disappearing, and the Tribunal, along with the Nerevar, would take the Kagranak tools to study them. Vorin Dagoth, who worked with the Tribunal, would take these tools to the heart of Lorkhan after being left to guard the tools. He would use these tools on the heart, transforming him into Dagoth-Ur, as he was corrupted by the power from doing this. This was not his initial intention. The Tribunal would retake the tools. However, the Nerevar would die in this process. After these events, with Suthersil's research, he would gain an understanding of how the tools worked, how the heart of Lorkhan worked, and how to use the tools against the heart to steal its essence. By stealing the essence of the heart of Lorkhan, the Tribunal used this to become the living gods. When they did this, Lady Azura would appear. Suthersil would tell Azura that the Chimer would no longer need the Daedra. The Tribunal could be the new gods for the Chimer. But would Azura just be so happy to hand over the worship and adoration from the Chimer? No, of course not. Azura considered this sacrilege and would go on to curse the entirety of the Chimer, not just the Tribunal. The Chimer went from having the beautiful golden skin to having ashen skin and red eyes. As the Tribunal became the living gods they desired to be, they also became the protectors of the Dunmer. This would lead to several heroic feats that are part of the temple's history. With this, it would make for the basis of the temple's pilgrimage. Many of these feats involved Daedric princes who were angered by the Tribunal Temple's desire to be the new gods. The first of these feats would be Vivec's fights against the Ruddy Man. The Ruddy Man was an incarnation of the Daedric prince Molag Bal. He is the Daedric prince of domination and enslavement of mortals, the god of schemes. In the first battle inside of Cold Cave, it was so intense that it created the area known as the West Gash. The Ruddy Man was defeated in this. However, Vivec did not kill him. This would lead to a second battle outside the city of Tyr, as this is where the Ruddy Man attacked. So Vivec would fight him again, and yet again defeat him. This would not be the only Daedric prince that would attempt to attack the Dunmer. There would also be Mehrunes Dagon. Mehrunes Dagon would attempt to attack the citizens of Margan. This would lead to Vivec fighting him. Mehrunes Dagon attempted to throw a giant rock at the city of Margan. However, Vivec would stop him by taunting him, leading to him throwing the rock at Vivec, which is actually where the Temple of Margan would be built. After this, Mehrunes Dagon and Vivec would fight. However, Mehrunes Dagon had no weapon. Vivec, seeing it as dishonorable to use a weapon against an unarmed foe, would give him a silver sword. But still, Vivec would defeat him, saving Margan. This would not be the last of the events near the beginning of the Tribunal's godhood, involving Vivec. Yet another Daedric prince was angered by the Tribunal's self-proclaimed godhood. This time it was Sheogorath. He is the Daedric prince of madness. In his anger, he would send the large meteor Bar Dao to destroy the city of Vivec. However, Sheogorath's plan would fail, with Vivec, once he saw the meteor, raising his hand to freeze it in the air. This is what we see as the Ministry of Truth, or the Prison Rock. This is kept above the city of Vivec to show the citizens of the city that they must keep faith in the Tribunal, as faith is what keeps the meteor from striking the city. The other two gods, Almalexia and Suthersil, would also face the Daedric princes. More specifically, they would face Mehrunes Dagon. This was after he had gone through Mournhold.
City of light, city of magic.
devouring those who had lived there and destroying the entire city. Almalexia and Suthersil would travel to Mournhold and combine their powers in their fight against Mehrunes Dagon. With this, they managed to banish him back into oblivion. Almalexia would stay in Mournhold and help to rebuild the city, which is why you can find her here. This would not be the last act of violence against the Dunmer, as with the closing of the Reman dynasty, which once ruled over Morrowind, and the end of the Fourscore War, the Dunmer and the Tribunal would rebuild Morrowind. However, they were not safe. This is due to the invasion of the Kamal from Akvir. The Kamal are also described as snow demons due to their rare appearances. They only wake from hibernation once per year to attack. At this time, they decided to attack Morrowind. They attacked Vivec City. However, the Tribunal had a plan. Almalexia and Vivec would not sit idly by, watching their citizens get slaughtered and their land get taken. Instead, they would teach the Dunmer in Vivec City how to breathe underwater. As the Kamal forces were surrounding the city, the Tribunal would strike back by flooding these areas, leading to the majority of the Kamal army to meet a watery grave, drowning whilst the Dunmer were able to breathe underwater. However, the Kamal would not give up so easily. The Kamal would move on to mainland Morrowind and continue their attacks, as they had managed to occupy the island of Vardenfell. The Tribunal, more determined than ever, would not quit. Almalexia would sneak into the Red Mountain, which happened to be occupied by the Kamal. She did this with one goal: to awaken the Underking. She desired to summon him to assist in the battle against the Kamal snow demons and their leader, the Akaviri demon Adasum Dir Kamal. Along with the Underking, the Tribunal would recruit others to help in the defeating of the Kamal forces. The Tribunal Temple, Vivec and Almalexia would be joined by a Nordic army and Argonian shellbacks, along with, of course, the Dunmer people and the Underking. Here, they were successful in killing Ada Sum Dir Kamal. This led to the Kamal army retreating, saving Morrowind. These historical events would solidify the Tribunal and their temple as the new religion of the Dunmer people. So what actually is the Tribunal Temple? The Tribunal Temple was set up to worship the Tribunal, also known as Almsevi. These are the three living gods worshipped by the Dunmer. The followers of the Tribunal Temple believe that the three gods gained their powers through superhuman virtue and discipline, and supernatural wisdom and insight. This religion and the three gods have been the ruling gods and ruling religion in Morrowind since the year 700 in the First Era. The Tribunal serves several purposes throughout Morrowind, with one of these being the maintaining of the ghost fence around the Red Mountain, used to contain the Blight. This was also contributed to by various temple practices, as often the Dunmer dead are actually taken to the necropolises either of Necrom or the Great Ghost Fence to help maintain it. Moving on, we should discuss the gods of the Tribunal Temple. The Tribunal Temple has three gods, the first of these being Almalexia. She is the Alm in Almsevi. Almalexia is seen as a brave and compassionate god. She is the patron god of teachers and healers. Unlike the other gods in the Tribunal, she still resembles the Chimera that they originated from. She is found in Mournhold, a city she helped to rebuild after the destruction by the Daedric prince Mehrunes Dagon. Now, let's discuss Suthersil, the most quiet of the three. He represents the sea in Almsevi. He is a very powerful and intelligent wizard, being the patron god of wizards and artificers. Suthersil is found in a city of his own creation, the Clockwork City. He resembles the Dunmer, although parts of his body look to have been replaced with machinery. The final god being Vivec, the V in Almsevi. Vivec is known for several things, being a poet, a warrior, and also being a kind and charitable king. He is the patron god of artists and rogues. However, he did have some darker characteristics, these being conspiracy, violence, and lust, which he shares with his anticipation. Vivec is the most well-known of the three Tribunal gods in Morrowind. He, living in the city named after him, is also one of the most visible out of the gods, in part due to where he lives, but also in part due to his appearance, he being half Chimera and half Dunmer. Along with the living gods of the Tribunal Temple also has three Daedra. These Daedra are considered to be good Daedra, as they are known to be the anticipations due to the Daedra sharing the same aspects as the gods that they represent in the Tribunal Temple. We see this with Vivek and his anticipation of Mephala, which he shares his darker characteristics with. Almalexia's anticipation is Bothea, and Suthasil's is Azura. Azura's support of the Tribunal Temple is questionable due to her cursing the entire Chima race and making them into the Dunmer, also causing the prophecy of the Nerevarine. Along with the good Daedra, the Tribunal Temple also believes in the House of Troubles. This is for Daedra, who, although holy, rejected and rebelled against the Tribunal's divinity. The worship of these Daedra are forbidden, and their purpose in the Tribunal Temple is to test the Dunmer people. The Daedra that are part of the House of Troubles are Malakath, Meherun's Dagon, Molag Bal, and Sheogorath. Each of these tests for a weakness within the Dunmer people. Malakath tests the Dunmer people for physical weaknesses. Meherun's Dagon tests them for their will to survive and persevere. Molag Bal tries to weaken the Dunmer gene pool and upset the house's bloodlines. And finally, Sheogorath tests for mental weakness in the Dunmer people. These Daedra are not worshipped within the temple. Instead, those who worship them are hunted down by both the Ordinators and the Imperial soldiers. Now that we know about the Tribunal Temple, their gods, and some of their actions, are the Tribunal gods really the heroes that Morrowind sees them as, or are they actually the villains of Morrowind? Well, for that, we need to assess the actions of the Tribunal and their consequences. We should start with Suthasil and his declaration to Azura. Suthasil told Azura that he, along with the other two, were the new gods of the Dunmer and that the Daedra were no longer needed by the Dunmer. This is of course how the Chima became the Dunmer. With these comments, it is also a part of the reason behind several of the important feats of the Tribunal gods. As if the Daedric princes were not angered in the first place, they may not have done many of those acts like attempting to destroy Vivek City with a meteor. So with this, many of the issues that the Tribunal had worked to solve were triggered by them. This also is not the only problem when it comes to the Tribunal. There is also the fight between Almalexia and Suthasil. After the death of Dagoth-Ur, Azura would speak to the Nerevarine, turning the Tribunal gods mortal again. With this, Almalexia would lose her sanity. Not wanting to be mortal again, she turned against Suthasil, killing him. This would not be the end of her plan. No, that would be too easy. She would also release the mechanical creatures of the Clockwork City, using them to attack Mournhold, making it seem as if Suthasil was evil and he had gone crazy, attacking the citizens when really he was already dead, and Almalexia was just setting a trap for the Nerevarine to reclaim her godhood. Looking at these behaviours, Suthasil instigated the rage of the Daedric princes, which would change the entirety of a race, not through evolution but a curse. This would also lead to the anger of the newly named House of Troubles to be taken out on the people of Morrowind, especially the Dunmer supporters of the Tribunal Temple. With Almalexia murdering her fellow god in cold blood and attempting to murder the reincarnation of her former husband, well, she would not be embodying her source of compassion and sympathy title. Quite the opposite, actually. With the behaviours of all of the gods, we see that they are realistically no better than Dagoth-Ur, with both the Tribunal Temple and Dagoth-Ur desiring the power that comes with control of Morrowind. However, in just different ways. Dagoth-Ur wanted to, in his opinion, free the Dunmer people from the outsiders, whereas the Tribunal were willing to coincide with them, as long as they were worshipped by them. Although the temple did perform heroic feats like saving Morrowind from the Kamal, many of the other problems were caused by their godhood. So they were not the heroes of Morrowind they paint themselves to be. Now that we know about the gods of the Tribunal Temple, let me know in the comments, do you think that they are evil? If you enjoyed this video, then you will enjoy watching this video. It is about whether or not Dagoth-Ur is really as evil as you think.